finally doing something exceptionally exciting. Usually when you get this type of compression move followed by an expansion in volatility, you have a very strong edge to the downside, usually. However, there's one thing glaring that is making me feel that I don't know what the hell price is getting ready to do in a scale of a month. We could get a big reaction off of this and then it goes down later, because what am I pointing at? An origin line. And I'm going to show you in this stream, in this segment of the live show, why I think that if you're trying to short things into oblivion for a fast move continuation down, that you might be truly disappointed and you might have to wait quite a bit longer. So let's go get some Bitcoin. Let's zoom out and simply appreciate what we're looking at here for a quick second. Origin lines and price bouncing on them, right? And we've gone over this in previous videos, the rules of how things work. What I'm going to show you is not necessarily a rule, it's behavior. How does Bitcoin behave on these lines? And what I notice is whenever there's an aggressive move down, so let's go to the daily chart. When you have an aggressive move down that interacts directly with an origin line, the immediate reaction is the most telling feature. More than indicators, more than anything. And the initial reaction we're getting, so let's zoom in even more. Let's go to the 1 minute chart. The initial reaction we're getting is a strong buyback. This is almost a 10%, I mean, it's going to go higher. This is going to be a 10% plus buyback. Aggressively. I mean, here, 1 minute, look. How long did it closed one 1 minute candle below the origin line. One. So the other times in history, which I'm going to show you here in a second, I'm trying to, especially for people, so this Bitcoin video is probably the most important for people who are trying to short into oblivion. If you think that's the bottom and you're trading bias in that direction, I think over the next couple of days, you have a chance of being better off with that strong blind bias, right? I'm not saying that would be healthy to do, but if you had that strong bias and you just blindly trade to the upside, it's possible that you have better luck. So I'm trying to really help people who are getting excited about making, taking on some short positions. All right, so let's go back. So let's go back in time. I'll try the 4-hour chart. Let me give you an example of what we're not getting. So you have a strong move down, a compression move, lots of compression, even more so than what we just had, not in terms of length, but just smaller candles, smaller structure, right? An aggressive move down. Now let's zoom in. Did you have a strong buyback off that? No. The same 4-hour candle closed below. And it kept going below, right? In that case, yeah, you shorted into oblivion, right? And it almost hit the next origin line down. And it hasn't actually, it didn't complete that for how much longer? Let's see here. Yeah, roughly 75 days, but it still ended up hitting it. So this is how it behaves if it's going to keep going. Compression, strong move down, did not bounce. Now let's look at the other cases right here. So here it did technically keep going down. It had a bounce and hesitation at this origin line. Let's make it a brighter color. At this origin line here, but you still didn't have a strong buyback. So I would think that whatever's about to happen behavior-wise will be more aggressive to the upside than this. Because even this interacted more bearishly at the line. So zoom way in there. Yeah, it did try to bounce at it, but it didn't bounce on and on 1 minute candles and go up 10% immediately. Like, yeah, 1 1 minute candle closed below. This stayed, so this. All right, and all of this, and even this one right here. This is one of the fractals that I have down to prepare you for what's about to happen over the next month or so. I don't think it's going to be straight down. So this one, I don't know how many minutes it lived below this origin line right here, but in general terms, it had an okay buyback. And from the bottom, it went up 24%. And then how long did it take to really start breaking down from that day? Let's call it about there. Let's call it here. It started breaking down 27 days. I think this is more realistic. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. I already have the fractal prepared because I just got off a VIP call where I conveniently was able to collect my thoughts because I truly don't know how this is going to play out. And if you think that this is a bottom pattern, well, that also bounces exactly at origin lines and gets bounced up. So the idea that that was the bottom, it's still one of the options specific to how does price behave at these origin lines when it hits it after a compression move. So let's go to this one. This is back in 2019 when price was about 10K. So you had a compression move under an origin line, which is what we just had. It came down to it and it bounced. And I'm pretty sure this is another fractal that I've taken. But how long did it take for this to really keep going though? You know, you couldn't short it into oblivion. How big of it? So you had a 10%. So this is actually pretty damn similar to what's happening now. 10% buyback, right? And from the breakdown point, you still had a 5% play, but to get anything more than that, it took 30 days, another whole month. This would be wicked. I'm going to show you what this fractal, I don't think this is kind of in play quite yet, but all right, so now that we have looked at that, how this origin line is complicating things because this FTX, FTT stuff is a very bearish thing, but I mean, we are seeing a big ass buyback. So here are some of the top contenders on how price will behave. So here's one option. I think this is the last one I covered. So you do have an okay buyback, but the next day immediately, so the next day immediately starts interacting once again with the origin line. So if something to this effect is going to play out, where it does keep going down, but then goes sideways using the origin line as resistance before continuing capitulation after about a 27, I think this one's 27 days. No, 30 a month. You're going to need price to come back down to this origin line within the next 48 hours. And if not, then a fractal that is does not go below the origin line immediately is going to be a better option. So as of now, that's still on the table, but we're going to take it off the table if price hasn't interacted again with the origin line within 48 hours after today's closure. So by the end of the day, Thursday. This one might be my favorite one, actually. So Bitcoin has a very strong shot of having an extremely aggressive bounce up. A very aggressive bounce up. 22% off the lows. And didn't I just take one and measure it and it was 20, I think it was a different one and it was 24%. That might be my favorite choice. I think this has a strong chance of having a big bounce. Now, when I say favorite choice, doesn't mean I think it's 60% possible and the other ones are 10 and 5. No. Maybe, I don't think it's probable that something this aggressive will happen. 24% bounce, but if I could take any one, if I had to make a guess, which one had a biggest chunk of probability, even if that were like 35%, and no other fractal or situation has a better than 35% chance, I might choose this one. Does that make sense? I think it might be my favorite choice, but I don't think it's probable. Okay? Hopefully I'm speaking clearly about that. All right, let's go back here. This would be wicked. This would have it coming back up to, maybe even 21K. This has it at 21. But if I'm misinterpreting that's the drop down, then 20,500. And we just saw that, if it's going to keep going down, it wouldn't behave like this. I don't think it's going to keep going down right away today, folks. This one was the one I said won't happen. But just in case you want to see what the most wicked whale play would be, this would be it. This would be absolutely sick. Watch this. Boom. 15K. Boom. 21K. And then boom. 14K. That would just rock everybody. My goodness. That is not my favorite fractal. But keep that in mind. So what we have here is, in general terms, will it stay above the origin line or will it go below the origin line? Because I don't think that in the next 48 hours, it's simply going to keep accelerating down. I don't think that is even, it's a what if, but I'm putting that at number 4. So all the most likely situations are as follows. Yellow, you get a fair, maybe not 24%, but you get a bounce that stays above and you take a month before you go back below. That's, I think, is the most likely. Doesn't have to be all the way up to 20,500, but just to keep in mind what could happen, especially for short. All right. But some type of bounce stays above, doesn't go back below for a month. Or within the next 48 hours, it does go below the origin line and then bounces to use it as resistance and then goes down also a month later. That's only 2 of 3. What's the third? This is the moment where Bitcoin separates from the stock market and it's up from here. I think that's number 3, but I think it's more likely than today, within the next 24 hours, it keeps accelerating down and goes to 14K. Like a flash, continued flash sale where it cascades all the stops down there to force long positions to sell. It would have triggered. So that is not more likely in this moment than, I guess, that was it. The bottom's in. All right. I don't think the bottom's in. It's my third favorite choice in terms of how does price interact with these lines when it bounces and what happens afterward. That is the third most likely. And that is, hopefully this is giving you a good visual of what we might have in store. Because I am I feel very confident it won't just keep accelerating immediately. Okay. All right. And how can I tell though? So at what points can we start to say, hey, among the possibilities of it stays in this triangle for a month above the origin line, breaks down, or it goes below but hovers here, use it as resistance, then goes down, or let's just those two main options. I would use this line right here. So one of my team leaders, she suggested this line, and after I was staring at price for about 30 minutes, I came to the conclusion that this line she picked is actually is likely the most important thing to be looking at, and here's why. So if our main question is, here, let me zoom out one more time so we can see what we're looking at. So this blue line here, okay, it's gonna look flat when I zoom in, but it's not flat, it's the origin line, right? So if we're trying to figure out, will it stay above this or end up coming below, I think this line right here, which is the lowest daily closure of the year as of now, it's around 18,400 and change, okay? I think this is the single most important line because this is your 50-50 zone. If price gets stuck below this, which is the line of the lowest closing / opening daily candle of this year, 2022, as of now. If small candles, not just the closure, so that's a different, I'm gonna give you my thoughts on that here in a second. It's gonna be another layer of, it's another variable that can affect probabilities, but I wanna break it down even more simply than that first. So if we zoom in here, let's go to the 5-minute chart. And price can use that same line as, where's the damn, there we go. If it can use this as support, then I think it's much greater than 50% likely that in general over the next month, it stays above this blue origin line. If it breaks down and starts using it as resistance, I think in that moment, it's gonna be more likely that fairly soon, within the next week, it goes below here but doesn't necessarily accelerate down to the next origin line to 14K, but we'll end up using it as resistance. So let's just call this my 50-50 line. And you can already see that price is trying to establish this as the current bull and bear battle zone. So let's zoom into the freaking 1 minute candles. Even though this is more macro stuff happening now, but look, you can start to get an edge on macro stuff by looking at the 1 minute chart. Look at this. This is the battle line. It really is. And so this would help me with my probabilities on which general situation is going to happen. Now, the situation and trigger that my what if actually is coming true and I'm just wrong with my idea that it's more likely to bounce for a bit here. Simple. You have to wait till, I think you'd have to wait for it to get below this origin line and use it as resistance, but quickly. So like all of this was just a fake, buyback, and it aggressively in the next, 24 hours or less before the end of the day's candles tomorrow, it's back below here. So if it's below here soon, okay, then I'm probably incorrect and my what if is actually happening. But on its journey down there though, I would still be guessing it's going to bounce and go sideways and wait to go below here a little bit later because of how it reacted here. It just doesn't happen often that it immediately comes back below. That's why it's my fourth most likely situation that it just keeps accelerating down within 24 to 48 hours. Does that make sense? But you won't know it's probable until it's way down here, below the origin line, within a small time frame. And I think that is how I would shift or make pivots or shift my probabilities from one moment to another if I'm trading this stuff. On spot price, so if you're more of a spot price person, just relax. Because every single downside movement like this, even if it's going to go sideways for a while, right? You're going to have, and let's say it recovers / goes sideways for a month and then drops later. If you're a spot price person, don't have to worry about this too much because you're going to have another chance at a small test down likely to this line right here. And let's label this guy. So even in the strong recovery sense, I bet you have another chance there. But people trading on futures, you need to be aware of all this now because, with leverage, you need to be able to react very quickly. So be very careful with this. And that is what I have for Bitcoin.